Hi, welcome to CMS. We'll continue speaking about how CMS will provide for us a cost breakdown, and we'll start now for the breakdown of block work, cost breakdown, block work. Also, we'll start here with this calculator. This calculator is helping us to find the required quantities and the cost for the mortar material if we are going to use a mortar mix inside. We have the cement, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and water cement ratio, and here is the specific gravity for each element. If you consider here that we will make a mix for one cement and one fine aggregate and two coarse aggregate, which is like 0.3 or the black sand, whatever the name, or even if it's only cement and sand, you can consider only one cement and three sand, whatever according to your location, according to your available material. Accordingly, CMS will use also the volume equation to give you the quantity for the cement and the sand and the coarse aggregate and the water. Here is the quantities, and here is the price per unit, and the total price for each item, and the total price, and that's the total price for the mortar. Here is also for calculating the accessories of the block to be considered in the price. You can also here insert the potential margin or waste of this mortar. Can consider here 10% or 15% according to your site condition. CMS will provide for us a tables for substructure block work and superstructure block work. We will find here all the types of the block which we already inserted before in the block work as in the quantity surveying work. Sunny work, here is the block. We will find here we already inserted types of the block. CMS consider the same in his calculation. That's the same types of block. And here is the area of block for these types, both the same for the substructure and superstructure. So he considered the same types which he calculated before. That's the area for each type of the block. That's the block quantities. That's the price of each type. All of this coming automatically. And here is the price for the block work as a material. So this part for the block and this part for the mortar, because we already worked with ready mortar, not mixed inside mortar. He give us here the quantity for each type of block, the quantity for the mortar, and the price which you have to pay for it, and also the water cost to mix it with the ready mortar. And here is the water for curing and the cost of the accessories. That's for the material for the block. And here's for the labor, because also CMS have in his database the productivity for the block work for each type of the block work, and also can be changed or modified as we mentioned before in the concrete from the productivity in the scheduling. Here you will find the block work, and you can change here the productivity for the masons and their helpers which are there. You can insert it according to your site condition or modify according to site condition, or you can keep it if you agree about them. Again, for the block work, that's the rate which CMS calculated, and according to the quantity he calculate the cost for manpower. And here you have the total cost and the cost per meter for each type of block, and the price after adding the overhead and profit, as we'll see later how, and the price here for each meter. As you see here, this cell is empty because this is related to the mix on-site mortar. Let's see now if we change the type of the mortar, what will be changed and what the information will be added. And also let's take an example about how the price also will be affected because of the type of the mortar. Here the price using the ready mortar is 60.18. Let's see now if we change this type for another type of mortar or for mix on-site mortar, how the cost will be. Let's go for the quantity surveying, machinery work, block work, and go for this superstructure work and change the filling mortar type. Instead of ready, which is ready mortar, we'll go for mix, which is mix on site. When we change the type of mortar, we'll find here there is no ready mortar, and here is all the required material and the cost for the mix on site mortar, which is that's the quantities for the mix on site mortar. Here is the cement quantity and the price, the water price, black sand price, white sand price, and the curing water price, and the final price for this type of block, instead of 60.18, it is now 58.64. So now you can also identify the variance between using a ready mortar or mix on site mortar to take a proper decision for what type of mortar you have to use. That's the way, as you see, CMS giving you all the details, quantity, and all the requirement automatically without any effort from your side. All this is coming for you automatically. Just spend now a time to explain how CMS is calculating this all and what will be output from CMS. At the end, you will have the total cost for the block work and the final price for the block work. After adding the profit ratio, this amount will be changed and you'll have here a profit will appear. Let's go now for the next, which is the plaster. Also, we'll find here a calculator for how CMS will calculate the plaster mortar quantity and the price. The same here we'll find these calculators. First one is the mix inside mortar. Second is the rush for the mix inside mortar. Here the ready mix mortar calculator, and that's the required rush for the ready mix mortar. Normally we are considering this ready mix mortar is the which we already called here a shooting plaster because we are using a machine there. So when we choose in the plaster a shoot plaster, so the same as we did in the block, we will insert the ratio between the cement and sand to cement, which is 3 to 1 according to our specification. Here the water cement ratio will be 0.8 also according to the specification. CMS use the volume equation to calculate the required quantities for cement and sand and water and the price for each of them and the total price for the mortar. He will insert the thickness of the plaster according to your specification and the margin and waste material. This of course will affect your price. The same for the rush. We have a cement and black sand and also water cement ratio. And as we said also there is the specific gravity or the density. CMS give us the cost for the 1 cubic meter for this rush. The same here for the ready mix mortar according to the data sheet with the ready mix mortar. Of course, any material or any ready mortar must have a data sheet which is telling us about the consumption is this material and telling us for 1 square meter and thickness of 1 centimeter how many kilograms of material are required and how many liters of water required to be mixed with this quantity of material. If we have also a special plaster like a chemical or barium plaster, which are normally using in special items like hospitals or the same, we'll just insert this number and CMS will calculate the required quantity for this mortar. The same also for the rush material if it's there. And of course we'll insert the thickness of the plaster and the waste or margin for this plaster. The same also for the rush. Here we consider the rush thickness is 0.4 or zero point 0.5 according to your specification. Then you will find CMS give you all the required materials to implement this plaster. Here you have the areas automatically output, the mortar, which is mixed inside mortar because we choose only a normal plaster. We didn't choose a shoot plaster. If we choose a shoot plaster in the finishing as we did before here, let's go of conserving the finishing work, internal plaster, internal finishing. We choose here normal plaster. If we choose for some a shoot plaster, we will find in this plaster now, let's go and check plaster work. Here shoot plaster is appear, and that's the quantities required for these areas, and that's the price, because only we change the type of plaster. So when we choose a normal plaster, that means we choose a mix on-site mortar. But if we choose a shooting plaster or a shoot plaster, that means we choose a ready mix mortar. So we have here the area, the mortar, either it is ready mortar or mix on-site mortar. That's the material required for this mortar, this all, which is the rush, the cement, the black sand, the white sand, and the water, all this, the cost, plus also the required scaffolding. Mainly we'll find this in the external plaster, and because we already inserted the rent price for the scaffolding in the resources price, CMS calculated automatically and give it to us. So this is all is the material cost. Here is the labor cost, also because CMS have a productivity for this plaster. It is already mentioned in the CMS database, the productivity of plastering work. CMS calculated the rates, and according to this quantity, CMS give us the costs for the manpower of plaster. Here is the total cost of plaster and the cost per meter. Also the total price for plaster and the price per meter, because we still not have a profit ratio. We will find here the price equals the cost, and it will be changed later. The next, let's speak about the finishing work. For the finishing work, start here with a flooring work. We'll find here a calculator for the mix on site mortar. For any flooring, we have two options. The first one is above the concrete, we'll lay a well compacted crash sand or 03 or black sand. This also can be mixed with some cement, and this is used for leveling and backing below the tile. Above this layer, we are adding sand cement mortar, which is working as an adhesive for the tiles. Normally, this layer, which is well compacted crushed sand, working as an allowance for all the electrical pipes and adjust for the finishing floor level. In this case, if you are using this case, we are inserting the thickness of the black sand or the well compacted sand here. Insert the sand thickness below the mortar. We consider here it is a 6 centimeter. And we'll insert also the mortar thickness, which is the sand cement mortar. We consider here as a 2 centimeters. And we consider also immersion of this material with 20%. Before this, we already inserted the mix of this mortar. Mix of this mortar, which consists of cement and sand and water. We give only the ratio between the cement and sand, and of course the specific gravity, which is fixed, maybe not need to change, and of course the water cement ratio. By the way, this all these ratios and the numbers not need to change because that's the logic everywhere. So here CMS calculates for us the required cement and sand and water as a quantities and price. That's one option for laying the flooring. The second option, instead of well compacted sand, it will be replaced by screed, and instead of the sand cement mortar, it will be replaced by tile glue. In this case, we will insert the thickness of the tile glue and the thickness of the screed and also the merger. Accordingly, CMS calculate the cost because we already inserted for him before the rate of manpower in our resources prices. And here is the tile glue calculator for 1 square meter with thickness of 1 centimeter. According to the data sheet, we need a 16 kilogram mixed with 3 liter of water, and we will consider immersion of 20%. According to these informations, CMS will calculate all the required materials. Again, we will insert only the thickness of mortar and sand or thickness of screed and the material mix design according to the datasheet. And by the way, 99% of the projects will use the same, and mostly you will not need to change anything here. What CMS will provide for you for the flooring? Automatically, the CMS providing you all the types of the tiles which we already inserted before in the quantity surveying. He will give you the full quantity for each one. When you insert for him the margin for the flooring tiles, according to your site condition, the area's shape, or the workmanship capability, you will decide your margin. Accordingly, and according to the price which you inserted before in the resources price for each type of the tiles, CMS will give you the full price for this tile. By the way, you'll find these cells from here to there, they are all related to the ceramic tiles, and this below, they are related to the marble and granite. So CMS give for you here the materials and the material price. Then the mortar. You will choose here the type of the mortar. Either it is mix inside or tile glue. Because we choose already mix inside, he'll give you for each type of tiles the quantities of the mortar, then the cement quantities per bag and the cost of the cement, the sand cost, the water cost, the black sand cost, which will be laid below the mortar, and here also the cement which is required to be mixed with this sand below the mortar, to give you a good support below the mortar and below the tiles and to avoid any kind of movement. Also for the flooring, he gave you also the cost of grout and cover for protection. And here is the labor cost. CMS also have a proper productivity for tiling. He calculated and gave you the rates for the manpower. And for these quantities, that's the cost of manpower, and that's the total cost and the cost per meter for each type of tile, and the price as we said before. This price is according to work in mix on site. Now, what if we change for tile glue? In case of tile glue, let's change the mix inside to tile glue and you'll see the change. That's the changes which happen. Now there is no cement, no sand, no black sand. We have only the water which will be mixed with the tile glue. He gave us now the quantity of the tile glue and quantity of the water which is required to mix there, and the screed. Now we have a screed, and this screed area translated here with a screed cost as a material and labor cost for laying this screed. Finally, giving you a rate for the screed which will be added on in the cost of the tiles when you are making your comparison to decide what you will use. You will use a screed and glue, or you will proceed with the normal mortar. What the change in the price? Now this cost, instead of 94.5, it is now 83.5. That means it's less with 11, but we'll add another 32 for the screed work. So CMS gave you a clear figure for the cost for each type to allow you decide which one you will use, and also give you a detailed quantities for all type of the material required for this activity. That was for the rough flooring, which is the tiles and marble. Marble also the same. And here you have the total cost and the price for the tile and marble. Also, the same will happen for the soft flooring, which is like a rubber or HDF or wooden or a carpet or epoxy paint or whatever. All the type which we already inserted before in the finishing surveying, you will find all the material there, all the quantities there, and the price. You can also adjust the margin if you need. You will find here the total cost directly because we already inserted in the resources price. At the end, you will find the cost of this item. The next will go for the skirting and borders. Find here also the calculator for the glue for this skirting. This is very easy. What the required for each linear meter, almost 3 kilogram need for each linear meter with 1 liter of water, and thickness of mortar will be 1 centimeter, and that's the margin of 20%. You'll find here all the description. You will not insert anything. You will find the required material with the price. Here the required mortar, the required mortar for mixing with the tile glue, and that's the labor cost and the cost for the skirting work and cost per meter and the price, and of course the profit ratio. At the end you will have the all the cost and the price for the skirting. The same for the soft skirting, which is the same material of the soft flooring, rubber or wooden or carpet or epoxy or whatever, and at the end you'll have the price for this soft skirting. The next is the internal walls. You'll find here also the calculator for the how to fix the internal walls. When we are going for mix on-site mortar, we will insert also the ratio between the cement and sand and water. Here is the specific gravity. You will find also the quantity required for the 1 cubic meters, and that's the total cost for the cubic meter or mortar. The same also for the rush, and the same also for the tile glue. How many kilogram required to spray 1 meter with thickness of 1 centimeter? We'll insert here the mortar thickness or the tile glue thickness, which is considered here like 0.5 centimeter with this margin, and you have to insert also the thickness. If we are working with a normal mortar, we have to insert the thickness of the mortar and the margin and also the rush thickness. CMS will give you all this automatically. He will give you the all wall types for tiles or marble, the full quantities, price, and also mortar required with all details materials required for this type of tiles and the labor cost. Here also we have to choose the type of mortar, but here we have three, not two. Either it is mix on site or tile glue or dry fix. We can fix the walls either with mix on site mortar, which is normal mortar, sand and cement, or tile glue above plaster, or dry fix using the brackets. So accordingly, we have here a new columns for the brackets. If we use mix on site, we will find here the cement and sand and water and black sand. And we have here the price approximate per meter is 75. If we go now for tile glue, instead of 75, it will be also the same 75, but we have to add a plaster before the glue. If we go for the dry fix, you will find there is no any sand or cement or whatever, but we have a bracket price like this, and the cost instead of 75 it came to 100. And also here is the labor, because we have a productivity. CMS give us the rate for this tile installation and the total price for the labor and the total cost for the wall tiling and or marble or granite, and also the cost per meter and the price. Also, CMS will give us the detail for the internal paint, what is the type of the paint, what is the areas required, and the price and the cost, total and per meter. For partitions, CMS also give us the types of the partition which already inserted before, and the areas and the price. The same also for the ceiling. CMS will give us all the details for the cement type, the areas, for each type, and the price for each type, and the cost, total cost and cost per meter, and total price and the price per meter for each type of cement. The same also for the external finish. CMS will give us all the type of the external finish, the full area. You will also choose which type of fixation or which type of mortar you will use. According to this type, CMS will calculate for you the required material and will give you at the end the cost and the price. The same also for the external paint. CMS will give you the full quantity and the full price, and also he will consider the quantity and the price for the scaffolding. At the end, he will give you the cost and the price for your external paint. At the end, CMS will give you the full cost and the price, total cost and the price for the all finishing work. And also the weight of this activity against all the project weight. This is an indication for our reference. In next video, we will see how to insert and complete the required lump sum and subcontract work. Thank you and goodbye.